Hi everyone. So welcome to my channel again. Today I'm going to discuss really important concepts around Java, and these are some of the questions which I really believe that 99% of the candidates failed while answering these critical Java interview questions. Right? They seems easy, but behind them there are different scenarios and concept that works. Right? So knowing these problems will help you to prove yourself as a good expert Java developer, right? So through this video, please be with me till end of this video and you will have complete information of these questions, right? So guys, be with me till next 10-20 minutes and we are going to discuss the complete questions and what are the scenarios where we see these problems, right? So one important question that comes up in any of the Java interviews is around string memory, right? So what happens when you declare a string using new keyword? So many of us in simple, okay, I know this question, and in a very excitement, I'll say, okay, it will create a string object, and at that time only you missed your interviews, right? So you need to answer it in a depth way so that it shows how well you understand these concepts, right? So basically, it will create two objects, one in heap memory and another in the string pool if it does not exist in the string pool, right? So while creating a string, there is concept of a string pool and heap memory, right? You will better understand with an example. So if you create a string using direct assignment like this, right? So creates object in the string pool, right? If there is no other string exist in the string pool, right, with hello name. Second, if you create using new keyword like this, so basically it creates an object in the heap and uses the pool object, right? There are three strings in this example which is being declared. Now if you practically way, if you do it, let's suppose you compare s1 and s2, it will give you false answers. Why? Because these are different when you compare using the equal to symbol. So basically they compare the memory locations and these memory locations are different and you get false as an answer, right? For s1 and s2, but for s1 and s3 both exist in the pool only, that is string pool. They reference the same string, right? So that's why their memory locations are same and you get true. So this is really important question and you must know before your interviews. Okay, there are some other points. It is explained in a very detailed manner. So I'm just giving you a bit information around it, right? I'm not just reading the document. You will get if you read it, right? Or why this matters, memory optimization and performance impact, interview depth, right? Shows understanding JVM internals, not just syntax, right? So I mean, these things also go so you understand where we are using it and why this is really important, right? What happens when you debug the code or when you do a code review, these are really important concepts. So from that perspective also it is defined here. Okay, another important concept where there is, okay, basically it calls, I mean, you can assume it like many of us gets failed for these questions. Let's suppose for this question, can you override a static method in Java? Yes, you can override static methods. Most of us, this is what we are going to answer, right? But in general, the depth concept is no. Static methods belong to the class and not the instance. You can only hide them and cannot override them, right? There are deep concepts around it that you should understand. So, overriding instance methods, runtime polymorphism, right? Uses virtual method invocation resolved at runtime based on object type, right? So these are some of the concept that is involved. Hiding the static methods, that is compile time resolution and no polymorphic behavior, right? So these are related to a static method hiding. Code example is given. you can practically run it on your id and you can see it, you can play with it, right, for more understanding. Why this matters? So inheritance, polymorphism, and framework knowledge, those kind of your understanding, it shows if you are able to answer these problems, right? Some of the production issues that arises if you fail to understand these concepts, right? Again, this double equal to and dot equals to is really important. That comes from production issues, right? Many of us, while comparing this thing, we generally use equal to, and that mess the issues on the production, right? So this belongs to the question number one, where we saw, right, using new keyword and the equal to equal to operator, how strings are created and what they compare actually, right? So you can clearly see double equal to compares memory addresses, right, as explained in the question number one, and dot equals to compares the actual content, right? So you should actually use the dot equals. So that is really very common scenario for production issues, right? So with example again, it is being explained here, right? What is real world impact? You can read out this document in a very detailed way, right? Why can't we declare method as both abstract and final? Okay, the basic answer that comes is Java doesn't allow it, right? But what are the concepts behind it? You need to explain that. This is what interviewer is looking for, right? So abstract methods must be overridden, but final methods cannot be overridden, right? So they are basically opposite of each other, right? So you need to understand this and the concepts behind it. So abstract method, incomplete implementation, that subclass must provide. Final method, complete implementation but cannot be changed, right? So that is the basic difference. A code example is given. Then also, um, why interviewers ask these problems, right? Test logical thinking beyond syntax memorization, reveals understanding of O principles, shows ability to reason about language design decisions. Like some of these, see, you go through questions and answers, but when it comes real interview scenario, they try to judge you how depth you understand. You have not memorized, but you have understood. You have some practical knowledge, right? So that's what they check actually. So the follow-up concepts you can look for. Okay, what happens if you don't call super in a constructor, right? Parent constructor gets called. This is what we generally say, right? The basic surface answer that is there. But what actually happens, Java automatically inserts super as the first line. But if parent has parameterized constructor only, you get compilation error, right? So understand this. What what is the meaning? Right? It will be always be at the first, but if it's a default, Java inserts the super, but if it is parameterized, you will get an error, right? You can read out the chaining rules. Super this must be at the first statement, right? If parent has only parameterized constructor, explicit super params, like you need to pass out, call the super and pass the parameters, that is required. So understand these concepts. These are where most of us failed. Okay, from multiple taking multiple interviews to giving multiple interviews, this is my practical experience. This is really the scenarios where many candidates fail, right? Okay. Okay, some scenarios around where production issues arises, real world scenarios discuss. If you go through the document, you'll understand this in very better way. Modern Java interface evolution, right? Can an interface have a private methods? Basic answer, no, interface are only public. But yes, in the newer versions, this has been possible. So yes, since Java 9 interfaces can have a private methods to share code between default methods, right? And how the evolution for the interfaces has happened. So Java 7 only public abstract methods. Java 8 added default and static methods, and Java 9 added private methods, and Java 17 added sealed interfaces, right? and around discussions around it, the common scenarios and some of the code snippets for these, you can find it out. Bit more information and the implications, what, why these are being very important for your interviews, right? Again, this is again a tricky problem, and also more or less of an interview but more of a production kind of issues, right? The floating point issues, right? If you do this, what is the answer? Basically say, looking into it, your answer would be true, but this shockingly is not the true, it is false. The reason behind the floating point precision issues, right? So you will find out in the example, if you print like this is your answer, and when you compare both this, no, this is false, right? And this is because of that floating point precision, right? How you can handle it? So correct way to compare floating point numbers is using the epsilon, right? This is how it is being used. So this way you can uh, use in better way, where you basically see the issues. So financial trading, e-commerce, or banking systems, right? Where you need to work on actually these kind of values, right? So that becomes really important. Now let's see the next answer. Sorry, next question. So that's abstract instantiation, right? Can you instantiate an abstract class? Common confusion may be reflection, right? So you must know absolute in one line, that is with full confidence, not even with reflection. You can only create instances of concrete subclasses, right? Why this is impossible? Abstract classes have incomplete implementation. JVM, few issues being mentioned here, only concrete classes can be instantiated. Reflection follows same rules as regular instantiation, right? JVM cannot create objects without complete method implementations, right? So why also the cross question that comes from these concepts, right? Why why JVM cannot create objects without complete method implementations, right? So think of it, okay, and you should have answers around it, really logical. Take time to think of it, and maybe I'll tell you at the end of the video. So this is basic code snippet is given. Now comes, okay, again some of the interview depth and what are the differentiations kind of. The hash map contract violation, what happens when hash code and equals are inconsistent, right? It works fine, okay, most of us, okay, this is kind of assumption that we take, and that's where the real issues comes in. So hash map and hash set will break if two objects are equal, they must have the same hash code. And what is the reason behind it? The contract rules are being given here, it has been explained very well with an example is given. So see, while I discuss these, while I read out this, the better way is you get the document, understand it, read it, how it is impacting the real level scenarios in the code reviews, production issues, right? Apart from this, try these code snippets on your system, play with them, and you will have better understanding, more knowledge. And for sure, in your next interview, whenever you are giving, or even in general discussions in code reviews and production issues, this will help you to be a really better and good developer, right? And some of the things you'll find here, apart from the questions, best practices, right? Private constructor pattern again. Can a constructor be private? No. How do you create objects? So, okay, I mean, the if you see the better picture of it, yes, it is used in the singleton pattern and utility classes like math. So, private constructor prevent external instantiation while allowing controlled object creation, right? So, also, I hope you understand what is singleton pattern, right? So, questions like this is really important. Then you have use cases using a singleton pattern, right? Where we use singleton pattern, the cross question kind of that will come up from these type of questions, right? Then some examples is given here. Why this matters? Production benefits again, okay, prevent connection exhaustion, right? Ensure single source of truth. So those kind of, like, this is around the um, singleton pattern or those related concept, right? So when you take one concept, try to drill down it, right? Understand the concepts around those concepts. That is really important. Some of the helpful tips that you'll get from here, right? Start with the correct answer, explain the underlying concept, provide a code example, discuss real world implications, mention related concepts or alternatives. So when you get questions in your interviews, don't get excited and just try to end it in a single line, right? Try to understand what is the reason why this question is coming to me from the interviewer, right? And whatever you understand around it, try to put all the information in that your answer, right? And if you are better with example, please show it with an example, right? So this is really how you create your impression in your interviews. Some of the tips, pro tips is given here. You must um, follow these to be a better developer, to be a better at your job, and to clear your interviews, right? So I hope this is somewhat helpful for you. So take this document, understand each of these concepts like this, and crack your interviews. There are a lot of jobs around the Java that is being surfaced uh, right now. Many jobs you will find around Java backend developers, right? So apply for it and understand these concepts, go for interviews, crack it. And that's what all of us are trying, right? Helping students to get placed. So I hope you get your job as soon as possible. All the best.